Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Hope your 2026 is off to a nice start. Welcome in. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, Lucas Panzica, Robert Walsh with you until 1 o'clock. Buck is at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park because Titans general manager Mike Boronzi is sitting down as we speak to talk to Titans media as the Titans head coaching search officially commences. The dust, it feels like, has settled from Black Monday in the NFL. No delayed Tuesday head coaching firings. Did see Matt Eberflus got this morning, Robert, out as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. He'll be looking for his third job in as many years, but you don't care about that. You're here to hear names. Who are the Titans looking to speak with? Who do we know they've requested to interview? Mike Boronzi will talk about all of that with Titans media, but here's how this is going to work today. Buck is at the press conference. He will return. He'll give his reaction at some point later on in this hour. We will play Mike Boronzi's press conference for you in its entirety coming up at noon. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Of course, we are up and running on the F&M Bank chat, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch for you to dive in. Who are your preferred candidates at this point in the process, at the early onset, as there are officially 6 openings in the National Football League? And, Robert, we're going to talk about all of these things. We're going to talk about the most attractive versus the least attractive jobs. But I do feel like the obvious place to start is what happened in Nashville last night. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but it has to be said, the FCS championship game was electric last night. Was one of the most entertaining college football games of the season, regardless of level, as Montana State edged out Illinois State in overtime, 35-34. College kickers striking for Illinois State. They had two kicks blocked, one potential game-winning field goal, and one extra point that would have, at the very least, sent the game to a second overtime as Montana State scored when they got the ball and ended up kicking an extra point for the win. But, Robert, as the entire country was mourning the lack of Monday Night Football, the rest of us were sitting back and watching Taco Dowler of Montana State battle it out with Dylan Lord of Illinois State.
The stats from this game are incredible. You mentioned Dylan Lord. I am Lord. 13 catches, 161 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Their quarterback, 33 of 46 for 311. Their running back, 126 rushing yards on the ground. Like, if you are a stats guy, if you like numbers and yards and all that's got to be what you had it. If you like seeing, God forbid, a white boy catch a vibe out there on a little drag route, like if you like that, you had it. It was just a fantastic game last night.
I mean, I thought I was going to watch this game kind of. You know, it would be a thing that was on a Monday night, right? Like, there's no NFL game. I thought, yeah, you know, it's in Nashville. It's at First Bank Stadium. On the F&M Bank chat, Bibbidi Bobbidi asks, was Babs on that game? Yes, Don was on the Westwood One sideline call for that game with Ted Emmerich and Ryan Leaf. I know she crushed it. And Ricky says, the game was awesome. They can't go back to Frisco. They can't. They cannot leave Nashville. I started kind of watching that game on the side. You know, we'll see what happens. And I finished yelling to my TV at the end of the game, you can't leave Dylan Lord in soft coverage with the game on the line. Everybody knows this. Anyway, Electric Factory, it felt like in an era where we're all complaining about the state of college football and the transfer portal and coaching searches overlapping with the playoff and just the disarray of it all. It was nice to sit back and just watch what felt like, I don't know, a version of college football that has not been, you know, I don't want to say infected by what we're seeing now at the highest levels of the Power Four, but it kind of is that. Anyway, it was fun for anybody that got to experience
Before we move on, I saw a fun note on Taco Charlton, or not Taco Charlton, dadgummit. Taco, what's his last name?
Taco Dowler, the Montana State star receiver.
Taco Dowler. Someone wrote an article earlier in the year about like all name players in college football, and they tweeted this little excerpt last night. One account goes like this: Young McLean was in the Taco Bell drive-thru with his family when he spotted the sign and blurted out, "That's my name." So as a young child, he got to pick his name.
He just pointed to the Taco Bell sign.
God forbid that guy was at a Hooters or something. He's like, I would like to be known as Booby.
Said, I am Taco. And that's what he is. He's Taco, and he's a national champion. Montana State winning the FCS. So, like we said, Boronzi is speaking to Titans media. We will play the presser for you in its entirety coming up at noon. Of course, on Friday, before the regular season finale across the league, the Titans had a news dump that Mike Boronzi is now in the driver's seat on the football side of things. Chad Brinker is still the president of football operations, but he will continue to oversee departments like salary cap strategy, analytics, things of that nature, while Mike Boronzi officially takes over as far as the final say element of it all in personnel, and he will lead this head coaching search for the Titans. So where are we on the head coaching search? To kind of put a bow on Black Monday and recap what is one of the toughest days in the NFL for a lot of people. 6 openings in the NFL. We already knew Titans-Giants, the 2 in-season changes that happened. Brian Callahan and Brian Dable both fired. Titans obviously moved Boronzi into that role where he will oversee the football side and personnel. The Giants retained Joe Shane at general manager. Controversial decision, to say the least, in New York. On Sunday, there was a move. I mean, Raheem Morris didn't even make it to Monday after the Falcons, even though the Falcons finished on a 4-game win streak to close out the season, to basically win the Panthers the NFC South, even though Carolina lost to the Bucs on Saturday. 3 8-9 teams at the top of the NFC South. Falcons don't care. They fire both Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot, the only firing in this cycle that hits the reset button on the head coach GM timeline. That is Arthur Blank and the Atlanta Falcons. On Monday, the Browns fired Kevin Stefanski, retained GM Andrew Berry. The Raiders fired Pete Carroll after 1 year, 3 wins, the number 1 overall pick, retained GM John Spytek. And the Arizona Cardinals fired Jonathan Gannon, retaining Monty Austinford, of course, a former Titans personnel man, now the GM of the Arizona Cardinals. Retentions, Mike McDaniel not going anywhere in Miami as they search for a new general manager. And Indianapolis, Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen are staying put to lead the Colts forward at this point.
Is there anything, before you move on, sorry, is there anything more useful? You noted in Miami, they're not looking for a head coach, they're looking for a general manager, and their general manager candidates came out yesterday. I always love when Schefter puts those out because it's like, oh, yeah, let me dive into what the hell this analytical person in the 49ers. We don't know anything about front office people. Why are you sharing their names? We don't know anything. Oh, yes, Ian Cunningham is up for, oh, that's great. Was he knighted? Like, why should I know any of these people's names nor their philosophies?
We know so much less about general manager candidates than we even know about head coaching candidates. And we have a hard time wrapping our head around what makes a good head coaching candidate, right? We don't need to rehash the conversation that we had a lot yesterday. Just trying to set the table as we move forward in this coaching search and what Titans fans are going to demand, certain parameters Titans fans will have set up for what they want in their next head coach. But let's remember 2 years ago how people rejoiced at the hire of Brian Callahan, right? And Robert, just to put a hypothetical out there, let's go back in time to January of 2024, and let's say the Titans hired Mike McDonald instead of Brian Callahan.
Okay, let's do that.
What would the reaction have been here?
Oh, hang on, we got to go back in time first.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Oh, wow, it's 2020. What year did he get hired? Four. It's 2024. Wow, the Titans just hired Mike McDonald. He's the youngest head coach in the NFL. What the heck? What does he know about offense? We don't need help. We need an offensive guy. This is crap. What do we know about this guy? He was at Michigan, so he's a cheater?
Can you bring us back to 2026? Seattle Seahawks, the 1 seed in the NFC. And I haven't looked at Super Bowl favorites as they currently stand.
It is the Seahawks.
And the Seahawks are the favorite to win the Super Bowl, with Sam Darnold at quarterback and one of the elite defenses in the NFL that just shut down the Niners to 3 points on Saturday. Oh, and he made a coordinator change. His first OC hire didn't work. In Ryan Grubb, who's now at Alabama, Clint Kubiak, the OC in Seattle, and there they are. So all of that to say is we have no earthly idea how these things are going to pan out. So just something to keep in mind as the Titans have requested to interview, reportedly, Matt Nagy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, the Colts defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, the Broncos defensive coordinator that has overseen arguably, at the very least, one of the 3 best defenses in the NFL this year. And two fired coaches from this weekend that the Titans reportedly will speak with, both Raheem Morris and Kevin Stefanski. Jordan Schultz was the only one to report that the Titans are going to want to talk to Commanders offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. And Tom Pelissero reported back on Friday when the Mike Boronzi, Chad Brinker kind of restructure news dropped. Pelissero reported that Mike McCarthy is expected to be a candidate, but there has been no other reporting around McCarthy since then. Of course, he's a free agent, so there does not have to be a technical request to interview with the franchise. The Titans can just talk to Mike McCarthy whenever they want.
Also worth noting, the one thing that I do think that we know unequivocally, after listening to the morning show, listening to 3HL, listening to everyone's ideas, I think we can all agree that we want Kevin Stefanski as the head coach. I think that if you heard the morning show, there was a lot of scuttlebutt, but I think we all came back to a realigned vision that Kevin Stefanski is the man for the job. I'm being facetious.
Right. Because apparently folks listening to the morning show and interacting with the morning show were very against the idea of Kevin Stefanski, the two-time NFL Coach of the Year. I don't know. This is going to be fascinating to see what kind of wins the PR battle and what doesn't. Here's the good news. I don't think Mike Boronzi gives a damn about the PR battle when it comes to winning over or what Titans fans calling into sports radio the day after the coach is announced, what that will sound like. I don't think Boronzi cares. Now, take this for what you will, but the power has just gone down at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. I mean, Mike Boronzi started the press conference and the power went down, is what Buck has just told us. So I don't know what that means, but I'm looking at Paul Kaharski just tweeted a picture of Boronzi with no lights.
He looks like an unlockable character.
Exactly, or like an interview on 60 Minutes or whatever, where they don't want to disclose an identity, and it's just a
the Titans head coaching search will be gone through.
Like head coach's voice is garbled. So there we go. That's how we start the Titans head coaching search of 2026 with the power going down right at the start of Mike Boronzi's press conference. I look forward to the recap whenever Buck gets back in here. You just can't make this stuff up, man.
But to your point about Boronzi, they don't care about the optics of this, and you really shouldn't if you trust the guy, right? Like, they know infinitely more than we do.
Mm-hmm.
I would say he knows infinitely more than we do about the process and the people he's interviewing. I wouldn't want him. You wouldn't want him to care about the optics. That's how you get in David Tepper range of meddling. Like you can't worry about that. If he trusts his process and he trusts what he knows about football and how to build, then I would hope that he would go out and hire the best man possible and not worry about the repercussions from people like us or fans.
Yeah. By the way, Steve Spagnuolo, another name. I did not mention that. The Chiefs defensive coordinator, a name that has been requested to be interviewed with the Titans. That was reported yesterday as well. So we'll see if Mike Boronzi gets his power back and, just the underlying themes and all of this. When we come back, we will take a look at the most attractive versus the most unattractive jobs currently in the National Football League, how the Titans stack up, and we'll do that next on 104.5 The Zone. So the lights are back on. I mean, business as usual. Mike Boronzi is speaking at his press conference as the GM of the Titans. But yes, the power shut down right at the beginning of the presser. And Mike Boronzi was left sitting in the dark at the podium while the rest of Titans media sat and waited for it to get back up and running. And they did. They got it back up and running. Boronzi is speaking. We will update you on anything notable that comes out of that. Buck will recap it, and we'll play the presser for you in its entirety coming up at noon. So don't go anywhere. But
so he was by himself?
Yeah, Mike Boronzi by himself at the podium.
Oh, that's upsetting. We had a comment from Mayor Ron that said when the lights come back on, Matt Nagy would be sitting next to him.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, what? Hey, Buck's like, hey, somebody get those lights on. Hey, what's going on in here? Where's the smoke coming from? Oh, wait, who is that beside Mark Boronzi? Oh my God, that's Matt Nagy's music. He takes off like the Undertaker hat, slowly to reveal his eyes are rolled back in his head. As he takes his long trench coat off, grabs the microphone. Rest in Chiefs. And then we just have the head coaching.
He's wearing a headset. Yeah. Why are you wearing a headset?
Hold on. All of a sudden, Boronzi turns into who is why would you know who the old general manager of SmackDown? Teddy Long. He's like, you got a tag team match with the Undertaker, player. I'm really upset that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
That's not our timeline. That's
it
not
didn't
for
happen.
us.
But Mike Boronzi was asked about his obvious familiarity with both Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo, who the Titans have reportedly requested to interview. Welcome back, by the way. Lucas Panzica, Robert Walsh with you. Buck will be back at some point. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best in the world. College football playoff action, semifinals Thursday and Friday, wild card weekend, beautiful weekend for you to get yourself a big bucket of Hattie B's Hot Chicken kickback. Enjoy it. Get a big old quart of their incredible sides, the pimento mac and cheese, the fries, HattieB.com, and the Hattie B's app. Boronzi asked about his familiarity with Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo, and he says, I'm reading from Teron Davenport here on Twitter, he vows to throw personal biases aside to hire the best candidate regardless of previous ties. So, 6 openings in the NFL. Where do the Titans currently stack up? And we can start here, Bert, by kind of putting this into 2 separate pots. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Let's just say attractive and unattractive head coaching positions in the NFL. Of the 6, if you were to put the Titans' job in one of those 2 pots, where are you putting it?
I would say attractive. I mean, you got a lot of money. You've got what you believe to be a franchise quarterback. I think that speaks a lot. And because of where you're located, you're not going to be fighting free agents for, I'm going to lose X amount of money for coming to play here. They're going to get all of their money. So, I mean, I would say attractive, just how they're positioned currently.
I agree. Titans are an attractive opening. If you fired your head coach.
Maybe not like attractive. Maybe like attractive, I feel like, is a solid 8.
Sure. Well, you're giving it a 7?
Well, like okay, you see a girl walk in, you're like, yeah, she's, okay, maybe the Titans are attractive. I don't know. Maybe you would say attainable hot. Let's do that. Like, what's the girl that your girlfriend doesn't like to be assumed or called? Because when people call her, they're like, oh, she's obtainable attractive.
Attainable, yeah.
That's what, okay. That's where I would position the Titans.
Okay. Well, all that said, when in doubt on the F&M Bank chat, says, us and the Giants, top 2. Kent says, franchise QB, franchise defensive tackle, most cap space in the NFL, top 5 draft pick, no state income tax. You put on top of that Mike Boronzi overseeing this thing and removing some of that confusion on who's in charge of what, which the Titans kind of put out there and admitted on Friday, is something that had come up as a concern. They wanted to kind of bring some clarity to the situation and, in Amy Adams Strunk's words, have a more straightforward approach to all of this. So Mike Boronzi and the respect that candidates could have for him, the relationships he could have with those, especially the likes of Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy, Wyatt says 2:30 a.m. attractive. Come on. Chris says we're a Scranton 7. Hey, now, my fiance's from Scranton. All right? Let's
She's
not
a
slander.
Scranton 10.
Let's not slander Scranton. But where did that come from, Scranton 7?
I assume that's The Office.
But all that said, I am willing to say, I think there's an argument that the Titans are the most attractive opening right now in the NFL. And if we're putting it in two pots, attractive, unattractive, to me, the Titans and Giants belong in the attractive column. The Cardinals and Browns I'm putting in the unattractive column. The Cardinals situation with Kyler Murray is murky at best. I think Monty Austinfort's a good general manager, but the talent situation there isn't great. I don't know about what you're walking into with the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Cleveland Browns, just all they do is prove time and time again that is not an attractive place to walk into.
And on the Cardinals front, every time those league report cards come out, organizationally, they are awful.
Their ownership doesn't get enough credit for how they come up short so consistently.
You don't get enough credit for how bad you are. For how mediocre you
We don't
remain.
talk about the Bidwells. I don't know what to do with the Falcons because this is cheating. I wrote this down, attractive, unattractive. I started putting these openings in these two pots. And for the Falcons, I wrote a question mark and put them under the question mark.
The Falcons have a great personality.
Exactly. As of yesterday, I felt like there was an argument to be made that the Falcons could be the most attractive opening. But the more you look at it, as you remind yourself that they don't have a first-round draft pick this year, that they've got a quarterback that is a weight around their ankles in Kirk Cousins as far as the cap is concerned. They are very much in the red in cap space, almost just over -4 in salary cap space for 2026. And there is talent there. Unquestionably, there's probably more talent on both sides of the ball in Atlanta than there is probably any of these openings. With the likes of Bijan Robinson and Drake London. And, James Pierce Jr. just had 10.5 sacks as a rookie pass rusher. But the quarterback thing is such an unknown, Robert. You got to have so much confidence in Michael Penix Jr. to take that job because Kirk Cousins is about to be 38. He was the better quarterback for Atlanta this season, and you can have all the faith in the world in Michael Penix Jr. He has yet to prove he can stay healthy for a whole year. And we're going into year 3 of the Penix Jr. experience, having no clue what he is as an NFL quarterback. So I really struggle on where to put the Atlanta Falcons as we're stacking up these jobs.
I get that, too, because, when you want to point to the highlights of the roster, it's the young core, it's Drake London, it's Bijan. But I also think the league looks at running backs as depreciating assets, just like a car. As soon as you drive it off the lot, it is going to be less. And Bijan's only 23, so I'm not trying to denigrate Bijan or his age or his wear and tear. But I don't think that matters as much as people think it does to say that. But, they have a lot of fun players, a lot of fun pieces, but you would have to have someone who thinks, I can rebuild out like the ashes of a phoenix. I think I can take what I like, leave what I don't like, and fix this place. I think that's a specialized type of coach. That is not the Ben Johnsons of the hiring cycle. They don't take those jobs. They like blank canvases. It would have to be someone who, kind of like what we talked about the Titans in the initial part of our coaching search conversation, where you would want someone who has been a head coach before to be able to handle this during the transitional phase. But I agree with you. I think at first I would have said the Falcons were a top half of the job openings job. But now I would say, yeah, they just have a good personality. Great person. My mom likes them.
Great personnel.
But, they're always in bed at 8:30. Their idea of a good time is snuggling up and watching Sex in the City. They don't like to go out and have fun.
Well, why don't we?
They're not a Samantha, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
They're more of a who's the whiny, short-haired lawyer?
Miranda?
Yeah, they're more of a Miranda. Exactly. The Falcons are a Miranda if we're making a Sex in the City comparison. We've had The Undertaker and Sex in the City. What else can we work in this?
And how about this Matt Ryan stuff on top of it? And there had been scuttlebutt about this. Jay Glazer reported it over the weekend. Here's Ian Rappaport 15 minutes ago tweeting, former Falcons quarterback and CBS analyst Matt Ryan interviews later this week, Thursday or Friday, with Atlanta for the newly created President of Football post. he is considered the favorite. Matt Ryan taking a front office position with the team that he obviously created and established his NFL
official.
career with. I suppose it's official that he's the favorite. He has not taken the job.
Oh, okay. That he's the favorite. Okay, I understand. Because I was like, how the hell did they circumvent the Rooney Rule to get him in place?
No. Signs point towards this is a newly created role for the Falcons. So I don't know how the Rooney Rule applies when it comes to those sort of front office positions that kind of come out of thin air. But Falcons have a president of football role that Matt Ryan is expected to take. Going from TV to the Falcons front office just adds an interesting kind of asterisk in all of this.
And we talked yesterday off air about how many times has that worked? How many times has it worked bringing someone in who understands how the franchise operates, but how much is that worth? How much is his? I mean, Matt Ryan, smart guy, smart enough to be on the TV desk, smart enough to give analysis. But just like the Kanye West thing, like I love Lady Gaga, but what does she know about cameras? Like, what does Matt Ryan know about front officing?
Yeah, when you look at examples of franchise greats on the field that go on to do good things in the front office, John Lynch is the example, right? I mean, and he went straight up to be the GM in 2017. He's hired as the GM. I don't think he had any operations jobs before that point, right? I think he was in the booth for a little bit. He was working for Fox, and he kind of just jumped right in to the front office.
I look forward to our conversation with Mac on Friday. I think that's something we should ask him about how that transition from player to front office works. Is that something that's manageable in his experience? And I think Mac would be a great guy to ask about that.
Yeah, absolutely. John Elway, obviously, is a clear example of that as well. So it has worked for some franchises. Obviously, the Niners have been to multiple Super Bowls under Lynch's watch, and the Broncos won a Super Bowl under Elway's watch, right? He was still the GM. He was the GM of the Broncos during that Peyton Super Bowl. Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know how Falcons fans feel about the whole situation. I will say on the Raheem Morris front, fired by Atlanta and reportedly will interview with the Titans, that is one that my hope would be Raheem Morris is at most talking to the Titans for them to gauge what he could be as a defensive coordinator candidate, right?
You know where I think he's destined to be?
Where?
Los Angeles. If Chris Shula ends up taking a gig, he's just going to go right back and be the DC for McVay.
Yeah, because at this point with Raheem Morris, I mean, how real of a scenario is it that Raheem Morris takes a third head coaching job and has success? 17-31 in 3 years with Tampa, 20-25 in 3 seasons with Atlanta. He deserves credit for the way they played on the backstretch this season. 8-9 the last 2 years. Penix Jr. injuries. The quarterback situation he was dealt did not pan out the way they intended. So maybe it's unfair to put all of that on Raheem Morris. It probably is.
Did you see the report that they let him come in and address the team after he had been fired?
A rare thing, right?
Very rare.
Yeah.
You don't usually see coaches get the opportunity to do that, or coaches that want to do that after being fired. But he is, of all reports, he is loved in the locker room.
Yeah.
And to me, that is not what a head coach is. You can be loved in your locker room as a head coach, but that is a coordinator to me.
Yeah.
Sometimes the head coach has to be a jerk. Sometimes my mom used to say, I'm not your friend, I'm your mom. I can't always be jokey with you. You know what I mean? I've got to be kind of stern. I think he is the picture-perfect defensive coordinator. Rile the guys up, shake the cage, and get everybody ready for it, and don't have all the responsibilities of a head coach.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because Cam Ward, I'm sending this to you now, Robert, this clip of Cam Ward talking about what he wants to see out of the new Titans head coach. And right along that thread of what you're saying on a coach that isn't necessarily going to be your friend, but, well, I'll let the rookie quarterback talk about it.
You want to have input in the coaching process. What role do you want to play, and what message do you want to impart to Mike or whoever ultimately makes the call?
Really just the coach. the whole locker room, we just want someone who's going to lead us, who's going to hold every player accountable. We know whether it's offense, defensive coach, they're going to always put us in the right situation. So we're not worried about that. It's more of we want, a players coach who's going to listen to us, care about our bodies and, just do what, he thinks is best for the team and the organization.
So exactly what you said, right? Just want a coach that'll hold us accountable. So Titans are setting out on that. I think the Titans have a strong argument to be the most attractive landing spot for a head coaching candidate. I do. And I think the news on Friday with the restructure between Boronzi and Brinker helps that fact. Now, I don't know what to do with the Raiders, who have the number 1 overall pick in the draft, obviously, have some talented pieces. John Spytek, Tom Brady are going to try to get this thing right. The Pete Carroll experiment did not work. The Geno Smith experiment did not work. But are the Raiders in the attractive column as a head coaching opening?
No. I don't think so. I think they are, in fact, unattractive because the player that you would hearken on defense as their stalwart after 2 years of trade rumors and, is somebody going to trade for Max Crosby? Finally, there is some merit to those. And so now he wants out, which could help you garner more draft capital, but also you'd lose a huge leader in the locker room. And I love their offensive core with Genty and Bowers, but I just don't see how that would be an attractive position with how much work has to be done. And the division you're in, and no coach is ever going to think about that. But you got the Chiefs, you got the Broncos, you got the Chargers. That is an uphill battle for probably a bottom 3 to 4 roster in the NFL.
Yeah, which I guess would be point Atlanta, right, for being in a weak NFC South. But have the Raiders escaped being lumped in with the likes of Cleveland and the New York Jets when you talk about the most perpetually dysfunctional organizations in the league? No, people don't give love to the Raiders. It's no secret. The Raiders have, the last time the Raiders won a playoff game?
Ooh, Derek Carr?
No, he made the playoffs, never won a playoff game.
Ooh, tell me.
It was against the Titans in the AFC Championship of the 2002 season.
Oh, the last time they won a playoff game?
That's the last playoff win the Raiders have.
Oh, wow.
It's been over 2 decades. And the Browns have, Kevin Stefanski has won a playoff game in Cleveland. The Raiders have not. It feels like the Raiders kind of skate by when we talk about, Browns and Jets kind of are in their category of just perpetually bad, dysfunctional dumpster fires. It goes right up to ownership. I kind of feel like the Raiders sort of skirt that in the general conversation. I don't know.
And they shouldn't. I disagree with you because I look at them like that. I feel like anybody, when they see the Raiders on their schedule, they're like, oh, yeah, easy win.
Yeah, fair enough.
But maybe to the normal fan, because of how flashy they are with Bowers and Genty, I could see where you're coming from on that.
So, the Las Vegas Raiders is a tough one for me. Obviously, the number 1 overall pick in the draft carries some weight, and they do have the 3rd most cap space in the league. So it is a little bit of a blank slate. I think the Titans and Raiders probably have the blankest slate to work with. And honestly, the Raiders have parts and pieces like Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers, and the Max Crosby thing is going to be huge for them this offseason and what that looks like if he wants out. There was the drama here in the last couple of weeks that they asked him to shut it down. He didn't want to. It seems like there's some tension there. But it's hard to kind of pinpoint where to put the Raiders when you're stacking these jobs. But here are the Titans, top 5 pick, most cap space in the league, and a blank slate of a roster to do it with a young quarterback that has shown promise, that needs work. And luckily for Cam Ward, and the Titans will not need surgery, it seems, this offseason. What do we have to give away for What Made You Say Oh No in sports this week?
January 17th. It is Saturday. We've got 4 passes of lower bowl tickets and 4 pit party passes to go see Monster Jam's Freestyle Mania at Bridgestone Arena. We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
All you got to do is tell us what made you say, oh no, in sports this week. 615-737-1045. The best submission is headed to Monster Jam. Doing it. 615-737-1045. The best submission for what made you say, oh no, in sports this week is headed to Monster Jam at Bridgestone Arena, January 17th. Maybe it's the fact that the power cut out on Mike Boronzi at the very start of his press conference at the top of the hour. We'll get to your phone calls in a moment. My oh no is Zach Taylor of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the head coach of the Bengals is going to be retained. He's not fired. Neither is Duke Tobin, the Bengals general manager. But the Bengals fell victim to Myles Garrett's 23rd sack of the season. Really beat the buzzer there with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Came that close to being a half sack short of the record. But Garrett got the edge. Joe Burrow kind of just folded under him, and a big celebration ensued with 5 minutes left in the game between Bengals and Browns. Obviously, a game between two teams that have been eliminated from the playoff picture for weeks. Game kind of got put on pause during the celebration, and Zach Taylor was not happy about it.
A long conversation with the officials after the Garrett sack. What was going on there? What were you doing?
There's 5 minutes left in our season. We're playing for our lives here. And I was never told that we're going to stop the game. And in a critical moment like that, and the refs just said that they made a decision that they were going to stop the game. And they said they tried to do it as quickly as possible. I didn't feel that. We didn't sub. We're trying to be on the ball and go and play with tempo. And the umpire just held the ball so that we couldn't do anything. And I'm yelling at Joe, get on the ball. We didn't sub. We're going. And we couldn't play. And so, again, trying to get an answer was not easy. They just said that they made a decision as a crew to stop the game when that happened. I guess it didn't matter when it happened. It just, they were going to stop the game.
Okay. I get Zach Taylor's frustration. You want to get on the ball. You want to go quick. And even though you're eliminated, you want to win the game. But though we're fighting for our lives here, I don't know. I mean, he wasn't fired as the head coach. They've been eliminated from the playoff picture in weeks. And it's NFL history with Myles Garrett's 23rd sack. I thought that was a little bit of sour grapes from Zach Taylor as the Bengals did lose in walk-off fashion 20-18. At the time of the sack, the Bears were leading 17-12. But Zach Taylor is what made me say, oh no, in sports this week. To the phone, 615-737-1045. Zach in Chattanooga is up first. Hey, Zach.
Hey, Lucas. What made me say, oh no, this week was having to watch 3.5 quarters of Brandon Allen show why he should be in the XFL and go back up at Jay McCarron for the Birmingham Stallions.
Thanks for the call, Zach. So watching Brandon Allen play 3 quarters of football, we really thought we were going to get to the end of the season without Brandon Allen taking a single snap. Was not the case. He was 17 of 30 for 72 yards. It took him almost 3 quarters to equal the 52 yards that Cam Ward had in 3 attempts in the first quarter of that game. Remember to stay on hold to keep your chance to win. Philip in Hendersonville is next. Hey, Philip.
I don't remember the exact hypothetical that the reporter asked Tomlin after the Pittsburgh Ravens game, but it was something like, hey, if you make the kick, you go to the playoffs. If you miss the kick, your season comes to a screeching halt. And he looked at him and he goes, you know how it is. If my aunt had more male parts, she'd be my uncle. And I just thought that's my oh-no for the week.
Mike Tomlin, is he the greatest quote dropper in NFL history?
Nah, it would be that dude from Montana. Was it Montana State where he was
But in NFL history, you are correct. It was like Montana Tech or something, the coach from Montana.
Marshawn Lynch probably has more quotes than he does.
Yeah, but like of coaches.
Whoa.
What is this?
Whoa.
You've been under the console this entire time?
Oh,
you didn't even go to the press conference?
No.
Unbelievable.
I've just been chilling.
At the very least, Mount Rushmore of NFL quote droppers.
Who's a better coaching quote, though? Like, certainly nobody in the modern day.
No
right?
active coach.
Like Dan Campbell hasn't said anything.
Dan Campbell does say some stuff. I don't know. I feel like...
he's never topped biting kneecaps, though.
Never topped the biting of the kneecaps?
He peaked early. In terms of
with Sirianni's opening press conference had some highlights.
Yeah,
for sure.
but Tomlin drops like 3 every year. Bill in Lebanon is next. Hey, Bill. All right, fantastic. Micah in Clarksville is next. Hey, Micah.
Glad I made it back for that.
Hey, man. I was like going out in a press conference, and I was kind of with Bert. I was hoping it'd be a unveiling of a coach.
Well, that was never going to happen, Mike. Appreciate the call. But season ended 2 days ago. They were not going to unveil the coach the day after Black Monday.
That's the joke you made?
That the lights went out, and then the Undertaker music played, and Matt Nagy, you'll have to go back and listen to the podcast.
Yeah, that Matt Nagy just appears.
Like WWE style, there's some music.
Oh, yeah.
Takes his hat off, and Matt Nagy's eyes are rolled in the back of his head.
He's wearing a headset.
I had it more like the Scooby-Doo meme with Freddie pulling the mask off. There's somebody sitting up there with a mask. They just yank it off. Oh, my God, it's Kevin Stefanski.
I was going to say it's Brinker. They just yank Boronzi's mask off.
God.
Clayton in Mount Juliet is next. Hey, Clayton.
Hey, guys. My oh no would be McCaffrey bobbling the ball to the Seahawks for the number 1 seed overall.
Yeah, big play in that game. Seattle, though, just smothered San Francisco. Seattle was never going to lose that game. Matt and Dixon is next. Hey, Matt.
Hey, guys, my biggest oh no this week is, I don't know if you've seen the video circulating online, but right after Raheem Morris's post-game press conference, he goes right over to Arthur Blank and his family and starts hugging them. And, of course, the season's over with, and in the season on a 4-game win streak. He thinks he's probably good, and then he got canned, 3 or 4 hours later? That's my biggest oh no this week.
Thanks for the call, Matt.
Whose was worse? Did anybody bring up the Cardinals' Jonathan Gannon birthday post on Sunday?
No. You saw he rolled up to the facility at 5 a.m. just to get fired. Go back to bed, buddy.
Just call me at that point.
They wished him a happy birthday on Sunday, and I swear to God, I looked over in the press box in Jacksonville. Suss is sitting to my left and Tehran to my right, and I looked over at Suss and I said, they're going to fire him tomorrow, right? Like, he's going to get a happy birthday post,
his birthday.
And then they're going to can him.
But then imagine if they didn't tell him happy birthday. And it would be like, they fired him and didn't even wish their coach happy birthday. Like, they had to say happy birthday.
I think the social, you're assuming the social team is way more looped in than they actually are.
It was a scheduled tweet, let's be honest. But it's a no-win situation. Jonah and Dixon will finish it out. Hey, Jonah.
Hey, what's up, guys? My oh-no this week is obviously the biggest oh-no. It's when Tyler Loop kicks the infamous field goal to lose the game for the Ravens. And I feel bad for Robert, but I was rooting for it as a Titans fan.
Well, you don't win any tickets, buddy. See you later.
Also, you should be rooting for the Ravens if you're a Titans fan, dummy.
Come on, man. You would have gotten a 4th-round pick out of that.
I thought it was funny that Zach Lyons came in here yesterday. It was funny how many people they reacted to me differently yesterday.
Because we don't know how to deal with you.
I don't want to be dealt with. I just want to do my job and go home and sit in solace. That's all I want. But Zach comes in here and gives me a hug. He's like, sorry about your team, buddy.
Well, that's nice.
And also, I really wanted that pick. It's like, sorry your grandma didn't die. I was really looking forward to that lake house. I really wanted your grandmother's property and inheritance.
I would have liked it more if he embraced you and then subtly whispered into your ear, but I really wanted that pick.
Well, you still get a pick.
All right, who wins the tickets?
What are the tickets?
Monster Jam.
January 17th.
Ooh.
I think Matt.
That's a good prize.
Yeah, I thought Matt had a
Raheem
good submission.
Morris getting Goodfellas.
I agree.
After the hug by Arthur
tough.
Blank.
That's tough.
I mean, Blake does that after every game, after the coach's presser. He hugs the coach. So does his son. But, I think Matt is going to Monster Jam, and Buck has reaction from Mike Boronzi's press conference, which we'll do next.
You've got one life, and it's too short for not nows, maybe laters, and tomorrows. If you're noticing issues with ED or performance, then your relationships, your confidence, and even your career has already been affected. Online folks promise convenience and discretion, but their treatments are generic and some even unsafe. Guys, no more excuses. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is the state's first men's health-focused urology practice. Multiple urologists and providers focus solely on male performance. The right way, no unproven snake oil or peptides without solid research. Since 2014, they've pioneered men's health in Tennessee and have been testing and growing to make sure you get the best care and the safest, most effective treatments. They're number one in Middle Tennessee for over a decade, so call them at 615-208-9090 right now or book online in under 30 seconds at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
It is 11:02. Good morning from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans coaching search is underway, and the Titans have reportedly requested to interview Chiefs OC Matt Nagy, Chiefs DC Steve Spagnuolo, Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, and Broncos DC Vance Joseph. The Titans also will reportedly speak with both Kevin Stefanski and Raheem Morris, who were fired from their respective jobs over the weekend. And in other NFL news, the Washington Commanders are parting ways with offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. According to Adam Schefter, Jordan Schultz reported yesterday that Kingsbury is expected to talk to the Titans about the head coaching opening. Tennessee basketball is in action tonight, looking for the first SEC win of the season. They host Texas at 8 p.m. You can hear the Vol Network call right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
All right, second hour is underway. Mike Boronzi's press conference is something that we are going to play for you in its entirety. at noon today. I have just come back from the press conference, and we have some reaction. You may say, well, why didn't you carry it live? Well, the Titans have a policy this year that requires them to be the sole purveyor of the press conferences. So the one time that we want to carry press conferences, we're going to do it on delay, but that's fine because there's more of you in the noon hour anyway. And so you'll hear from the GM in its entirety in just a little while. But since I've already done it, I have some thoughts about what Mike Boronzi had to say. Perhaps some of you have seen some of the comments, some of the posts on social media, some of the responses. Perhaps you saw the blackout that happened after the first question. Our buddy Preston Pope texted me and said, what happened in the press conference? I said the power went out in the entire facility, and people were assuming that Boronzi was so offended by Jared Stillman's first question that he leapt across the desk, WWE style, to take a swing at old Stillman. But that is not what happened. So, 615-737-1045 is the number if you would like to participate throughout the course of the show. Who is, of the requested candidates, requested being the operative word, who is your preferred Titans head coaching candidate and why? If you would be so kind as to provide some additional context. 615-737-1045 is how you can chime in. You can also do so via the F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We do have some NFL news, Lucas, that happened while we were in commercial break, and Jason Fitz will join us to react to that and college football playoff stuff here in just about 20 minutes.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury is leaving the Commanders. This is from Adam Schefter. Not that the Commanders have fired Cliff Kingsbury, but that he is leaving the organization to pursue other opportunities. That he and Dan Quinn met today and agreed to mutually part ways. Jordan Schultz reported yesterday. As far as I have seen, Jordan Schultz is the only one to tie together Kingsbury and the Titans in any way. But he reported yesterday that the Titans will speak with him about the head coaching opening. But he will move on after a 2-year stint as the Commanders OC. And just as an aside, I know we don't really care much about where the Washington Commanders go from here, but now comes an interesting test for Dan Quinn. In sustaining after a great year one, a big drop-off in year two with injuries to Jaden Daniels. And now he has the unenviable task that comes with almost every defensive head coach at some point in sustaining at offensive coordinator. Hard to upgrade.
Yeah, Cliff did a good job. And he's earned additional opportunities. And I don't know how he'll be viewed as a head coaching candidate. I think there's absolutely no harm in speaking with Cliff Kingsbury.
There's no harm in speaking to literally anybody. Anybody.
I don't think they need to talk to Mike McCoy. I mean, they will, but I don't think they need to talk to Mike McCoy. I think it's okay.
Yeah, like a courtesy thing?
Yeah, just be like, yeah, sure, come on in here, bud. Just pat him on the knee. What do you think? Why should you be the head coach full time? Go ahead. And listen, I don't want to be dismissive of Mike McCoy. I actually have a tremendous amount of respect for the job that Mike McCoy did.
Guy.
I genuinely like Mike McCoy. Now, not as the Titans head coach or anything like that, but like, I thought Mike McCoy did a hell of a job. Like, that he would run circles around Brian Callahan as a head coach is problematic for a number of reasons. But to Mike Boronzi's point in the press conference that was just given, I thought he did a tremendous job holding things together in a place where not a lot of things are being held together very well. Anyway, so the biggest takeaways from Mike Boronzi's press conference are this. There is a search committee that involves Mike Boronzi, Chad Brinker, Reggie McKenzie, Dave Ziegler, and there was one other name, Dan Sagany, I believe was the other name that was mentioned, and I will look up Dan's title for you specifically. I know he is in the front office structure. But what is interesting to me is that is the search committee, and that is who it is comprised of. I think it is notable that Burke Nihill is not on the search committee as the team president, even though there are two team presidents. But he addressed the situation as far as the restructuring. He said, anytime I'm at a podium, anytime any one of us are at a podium, we are tasked with speaking on behalf of Amy Adams Strunk, because he was asked directly, do you now speak on behalf of ownership in the same way that Chad Brinker and Burke Nihill have been empowered to do so? That was his response. He said that they are going to cast a wide net, which is the thing that you expected to hear the most out of this press conference as far as the head coaching stuff goes. And at some point, I would like to hear, Robert's doing a million things right now, so I'm not going to put something else on his plate. But at some point, I would like to hear his response about, one, specifically Matt Nagy, because that seems to be polarizing with a great many of you for reasons that are beyond my comprehension, but that's fine. And two, how they're going to weigh the idea of previous head coaching experience versus first-time opportunity and unknown commodity, which you really don't know how they're going to do with the job until they're doing the job. And by then, it's too late, one way or the other, good, bad, indifferent. So I think that for Titans fans' purposes, the main takeaway is, oh, thank God, the person with the most football experience out of all of the people in this structure is going to be the lead dog in this search. Mike Boronzi should be and will be the person making the most important decisions as far as the head coach goes. And the alignment that he discerns between him, the head coach, the rest of the front office structure, and everybody else in the organization, all things done in service of Cam Ward. He also did mention that Will Levis will have a role in 2026. I don't know what that means. He said he talked to Will yesterday. Says he's wouldn't answer directly if he's healthy, which I thought was interesting because what has Will been doing other than for damn near a calendar year? Not a calendar year, but you understand. Since he had the surgery, what did you see, Lucas, that you have follow-up questions about from the Mike Boronzi press conference, if anything?
Well, we didn't get a chance to listen to it yet. So
I assume you saw something on social media.
We saw some updates, but I mean, all pretty status quo, man. In terms of what he is demanding, or not demanding, but the kind of qualities he wants out of his head coach. And a coach that's demanding, and I'm paraphrasing because, again, I did not hear his words yet.
Yep.
But a coach that kind of rides that line between connecting with players and also isn't afraid of that sort of butting of heads that can come with that in those processes. Admittedly, I couldn't help but think of Mike Vrabel with some of those qualities that popped up, but
in terms of
riding that line of being a connector with players, with people in the building, and also demanding of people in the building and holding them to a certain standard and not having those things sort of cross over and conflict with each other too much, right?
Mike did a good job, a much better job at the start than he did at the end, with guys that weren't, quote unquote, his guys, right? And now he's doing a spectacular job in New England.
Yeah. Now, again, we've talked. I think the Mike Vrabel era was heading in a certain direction in Tennessee. Regardless, he's obviously learned from some mistakes, and he is capitalizing on that growth in New England. But those qualities, like Vrabel, does have that. Where some coaches, it feels like, are too far in one direction.
Sure, Callahan felt too far
in the connecting with personalities direction. Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, it doesn't make Brian a bad guy, doesn't make him a bad quarterbacks coach or offensive coordinator or whatever his next role will be in the NFL, should he choose to jump right back in. I assume he's had enough layoff that he would want to jump back in, but we don't have to talk about that today. He was asked specifically about the qualities of, leader of men, alpha, all these different things. Like, how necessary is that specific quality? And Boronzi said that he felt it was not totally overrated, but a little overrated in terms of the balance of, like, strictly alpha dominates the room that he walks into. Because that was Mike at the onset, right? That was Mike Vrabel in his first head coaching job, coming in, trying to set the tone with not just media, but players and everybody else that worked in the organization. There's all manner of good stories and all manner of bad stories about how that went as they tried to get their feet under them as a staff the first time around. I don't necessarily, like, who is the, like, we talked about this briefly yesterday, but we didn't, I don't think, come up with a name between the three of us, so I'd pose it to the room and to the audience. Is there discernibly a coaching candidate, a head coaching candidate, that would make sense for every job out there? Or is this at a point where the 6 jobs that are open, like, no-brainer? Ben Johnson would make sense anywhere should he want to coach there. Mike Vrabel would make sense anywhere should he want to coach there. Is there that candidate in this cycle? I might argue no. I think they all come with some level of qualifiers. I think all of these situations are unique, as they always are, but these are 6 very different jobs with very different trajectories or in very different places on their respective competitive timelines.
Yeah, but there's also some similarities, right? There are similarities between Titans and Giants. The Raiders don't have their young quarterback that they want to build around yet, but they will in, 4 months? And then the Falcons are kind of in a category of their own. The Cardinals and Browns are in categories of their own. I think you could argue Mike McCarthy's credentials can fit into almost any situation.
And he's the one name that you haven't heard here.
No, other than Tom Pelissero reported that he's expected to be a candidate. That was on Friday that Pelissero reported that after the Titans' release about the Boronzi Brinker kind of front office restructure in their roles. But since then, there has been nothing to say that the Titans are planning to speak with McCarthy that we've seen.
Doesn't mean that it can't happen. Doesn't mean they can't get through a couple of rounds or a round of interviews and say, okay, let's go talk to Mike McCarthy. There may be enough out there. They may have done some back channeling. Again, some of it legal, some of it illegal in terms of the tampering and things like that. There may have already been back channeling to some degree that we don't know about, right? So it doesn't mean just because there is almost no reported connection between the Titans and Mike McCarthy that is completely off the table. But it is far less likely than all of the people that they're currently requesting or plan to interview. The schedules have started to come out that way as far as the people who they can interview versus the people that they have to wait to, I believe it's the 19th, to conduct interviews with people who are currently coaching in the postseason. So we will circle back around to this. Like I said, we will play that Mike Boronzi press conference in full for you at the top of the noon hour, and we will have Jason Fitz to talk about hirings, firings. The Raiders let go of Pete Carroll, and the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick. Fitzy, famously a Raiders fan, and he has many thoughts coming up next.
Oh, football season is coming to a close, so you only have so many football games left to head to HattieB.com and get yourself a big old bucket of chicken, a couple of quarts of those incredible Hattie B sides, whether it's the pimento mac and cheese, their crispy fries, the baked beans. I could go on and on and on. Hot or not, grilled or fried, whatever works for you. And there's health options at Hattie B's. The Southern salads are fantastic. I have 2 words for you: cornbread croutons. Try them out. Thank me later. If you download the Hattie B's app today, you get a free dessert just for downloading the app. And Hattie B's is awesome about stacking those rewards as you order for pickup or delivery through the app. You can always show up in person and visit any one of Hattie B's 7 Middle Tennessee locations. And just a reminder, the factory at Franklin location still doing breakfast on weekends. You've got people in town, want to take them to a Nashville brunch. What better way to experience brunch in Nashville than to eat some hot chicken on a biscuit? HattieB.com and the Hattie B's app, and make your holiday season last with Hattie B's. 6 head coaching openings in the NFL. The Titans are one. The Raiders are one. And if there's a Venn diagram of the Tennessee Titans and the Las Vegas Raiders, I feel like Jason Fitz is the overlap. Does anybody have that crossover more than Jason Fitz, having lived here and built a career here and done radio here and living in Vegas as well as a Raiders fan? I don't know that there is. Maybe Kari Blasingame? Will Compton?
Titans, oh, God. I've gotten my first Willie C for head coach tweet, and I'll have to send that to Will later. He'll enjoy that. Jason Fitz of Fox Sports Radio and Yahoo Sports Daily joins us now. We will be back on the air 5 to 7 p.m. Fitzy is Central Time locally. Fitzy, as far as I know, our schedule has now normalized after the gauntlet of national radio that you and I have been doing over the course of the last 2 weeks.
I can't believe they let us keep doing it, but it was fun while it lasted. Yeah, we're back to a regular Saturday schedule, so we'll be on to that. Although with the holidays, I still can't really figure out what day of the week it is most of the time. So yeah, we'll be together on Saturday. And by the way, you're right. Like, I've gone to Raiders games in Tennessee. I mean, I remember watching Eddie George just run all over my beloved Raiders in that stadium. I've had beer thrown on me in Nissan Stadium over the years. And so certainly, the funny thing is, most of the time, for the majority of my time in Nashville and even now, the Raiders and the Titans are usually good at the same time and bad at the same time. So it's amazing how often these two teams end up playing each other and how often they end up getting compared for wherever they are in their moment.
I am going to my first Indiana football game on Friday. You have the number 1 overall pick, or your football team has the number 1 overall pick, and Fernando Mendoza looks to be the only viable option at quarterback with the number 1 overall draft pick. Did his victory over Alabama, coupled with the season that was and beating Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, because they just dog-walked Alabama, Fitzy. It wasn't even close. You and I have spent much time talking about this. Do you still need to see Dante Moore in some form or fashion for the idea of another quarterback prospect in this draft? Or would you be satisfied with Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana quarterback, at number 1?
I'm satisfied with Fernando Mendoza. I will say this, seeing Dante Moore is never a bad thing. And that's one of the glorious things we get about the college football playoff. And one of the reasons why last year, I'm consistent on this, last year I kept saying one of the unfortunate things was that Cam Ward didn't make the college football playoff. Like, the opportunity to get more time on task with teams against the best teams. So to me, you're right. The Big Ten championship game stood out for Fernando. Also, the first-round playoff matchup where he just carved up Alabama stood out. He's simply not as athletic as some of the guys that we all fall in love with, but I've seen everything I need to see to believe that he's the best quarterback in this year's class. And I'll echo something you guys heard plenty of with Cam Ward last year, where people were saying, well, Cam Ward wouldn't be as good as Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jaden Daniels in that draft class. Okay, who cares? Like, at the end of the day, you can't control that variable. A year ago, right now, we were saying, oh, don't take Cam Ward, wait till next year's draft class. Now they're saying, oh, don't take Fernando, wait till next year's draft class. Like, it's just, you can't do this. When you have proximity to a quarterback and you need a quarterback, you take the quarterback, then you hope that you can spend all of the money the right way to build around him. I think Fernando can easily be built around to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL.
While we're keeping it there on Indiana, Fitz, and everybody continues to marvel at what is happening with Curt Cignetti and this team, have you kind of landed in a spot that explains this for you, for lack of a better term? Because we've seen some of these underdog runs in the playoff era, right? We saw it when Cincinnati made the 14 field, and I thought they deserved to. Talent acquisition by Luke Fickell. They dominated their G5 schedule, and it reared its head in the 14 playoff. Texas Tech has dumped money into their program, win the Big 12, deserve to get in, but can't do anything against Oregon's defense. They're just outmanned. It rears its head. But it's like Indiana has just skipped that part. And they've gone from building this thing up to a level that would already be impressive enough of just getting to the playoff. And Curt Cignetti's like, no, we're just going to be national championship favorites and the number 1 overall seed and dominate everybody in front of us. Like, have you reached a place in the Indiana experience where you can even begin to explain what's happening?
I think you have a couple of things that have come together that really create a path, by the way, when you're looking for other G5 coaches that are going to rise up and do great things. So one thing about this is clear is that from the outset, Cignetti came with a bunch of JMU players he really liked, right? So he was able to sprinkle in immediately playmakers, much like Vandy, when they turned around, they got a new offensive coordinator that came with a quarterback, right? Like, so there is some familiarity with, okay, who am I bringing into this building and how we get him to work? And then I think Cignetti's just a really good football coach. At the end of the day, the recruiting numbers will never support what Indiana's doing. They did choose to invest. They have chosen to spend money, and now they've sort of turned this thing into such a juggernaut so quickly. The one thing I would say to the argument of, okay, everybody else is just spending money, you spend money for proximity. Like, are you in the range of a championship? And certainly that money is not lost for the college football teams that put themselves in that range, but football's a freaky game. So any given Saturday, in this case, any given Thursday and Friday this week, sort of creates the element of, okay, you spent all that money, but when you got to this point, do you have the best? At the end of the day, simplifying here, the best so far in the college football playoff, the best defense with the quarterback that makes the least mistakes and the coach that seems to be best prepared in that moment wins the game. Like, one of the most shocking outcomes we've seen in the college football playoff, to me, is that Ole Miss flat out outcoached Georgia in that matchup. So I think sometimes it's just, do you have the best coach on the sidelines? Do you have the best defense? And do you have the quarterback that will make the fewest mistakes? And that simply is helped Indiana time and time again. But let's not get it twisted. Team speed's all over the place on the defensive side of the ball. They have 2 future Sunday players at wide receiver, and they have a Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback with a coach that's really stinking good. So, like, it's hard because most guys coaching at a lower level, I don't think are as good a coach as Curt Cignetti. I just think Indiana, they struck gold. They won the lottery.
Jason Fitz is with us. If you were a script writer and you were hired to do a job, and the job was whatever happens in this 2025 college football season, or let's just say even the playoff and the path to getting there, you have to write a script. You have to write a movie about what happens. What would you be rooting for? The Indiana story of reaching the pinnacle, or Ole Miss overcoming the Lane Kiffin thing and Pete Golding leading them to a title, or maybe even Miami coming back to glory?
Not even close.
No, let him answer the question.
It's not even a conversation.
It's Indiana. Frankly, it's Indiana winning this. But here's the crazy thing.
This SEC propagandist across from me wants to make Ole Miss a big deal. Oh, Pete Golding 3-0 in the playoffs.
I do think, look, we've never seen this. We've never seen this. Like, coaches are taking private jets back and forth from recruiting to
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, this
is
nonsense. The wildest thing ever for the Ole Miss team to be able to shut out the noise. I think is really incredible. I do think that. But here's one story that's already been written. Like, if you're listening to this and you hate the idea of college football playoff expansion, you have lost. Like, you've lost the war. Just hang them up. You're done. Because the argument that's going to be made, number one, is that Miami barely got into this thing. Like, we had a situation where Miami almost wasn't in it. So if they are able to go to the championship game for a team that barely made it, that simply supports moving to at least 16 teams, which is inevitably going to happen. Then the other side of it is, look at the TV ratings for these things. Like, for anyone that says college football is down, bowl ratings as a whole were up 13%. The Pop-Tart Bowl did better ratings than NBA championship games, right? Like, so you look across the board at what we just saw in the college football playoff. The NBA, Game 7 of the NBA Finals didn't do better ratings than some of these playoff games. So if you are, like, the story that has been written in this year's college football playoff is clear. Expansion is going to happen, and for all of the hand-wringing of media people that say, oh, I don't, and then the old heads that say, I don't want my college football to change. You lost. College football is going to change, and this year gives just enough proof of concept to absolutely force that through no matter what.
No, it's
Seth
better for
Rogen
it.
plays Pete Golding. Ryan Gosling plays Lane Kiffin, and let's go.
Shut up.
Ryan Gosling is so much better looking than Lane Kiffin. Like, I get that Lane does the hot yoga, but he's kind of a funny looking dude. You can't put Ryan Gosling's body, like Lane Kiffin, look, good on you for the hot yoga workout, but Ryan Gosling, my God, if I looked like Ryan Gosling, I would never wear clothes.
Yes, but nobody acts more like they look like Ryan Gosling than Lane Kiffin. Yes,
that is fact. Yes,
that is why the casting would be apt in that particular situation. At Jason Fitz is where you can follow him. So, this game between Indiana and Oregon, I had some people in our YouTube live stream comment saying, talent-wise, Indiana and Oregon are comparable. They are not. They are not even remotely close. If you look at the composite of the recruiting classes that they have had and the transfer portal profile of the players that they have, Oregon is by far and away more talented than Indiana. Indiana has been the least talented team in the field beyond JMU. And Indiana is more comparable to JMU and Tulane than they are to Oregon and Miami and all these others. And yet we still have a game in which Indiana went to Autzen Stadium, kept it close against Oregon for a first half, and then just kind of bludgeoned them in the second half. Oregon's defense is coming off of one of the more inspired performances that we've seen of any one unit in the college football playoff. How do you think these two teams match up?
Well, and this is to your point, by the way. Dan Lanning told one college football reporter that I know very well that works for ESPN this summer that this was the most talented team he'd ever coached. Off the record, when they were just shooting the you-know-what, he said, man, we're going to be good. This is the best team I've ever had. So for Dan Lanning to say to somebody as part of their prep process, this is the best team I've ever had, let's not get it twisted. Like, at this point, if a bunch of these Indiana players went and tried out to join the Oregon team, if we were just talking about recruiting rankings and everything else, it would still mostly be the Oregon team, right? So you're 1,000% right. The talent lies squarely in Oregon. This is where everybody tells me it's hard to beat a team twice. Well, it's also hard to go to Oregon and win, and that's exactly what Indiana did. I think that Indiana is just a matchup nightmare, and Oregon's defense was so stinking good in the last playoff game. I take nothing away from them, but realistically at this point, I think that you have a better shot. That RPO offense that Indiana runs is tough to defend. They've got a quarterback that is just hot right now. Mendoza, the way he's playing, is just he's seeing the field so well. Dante Moore's going to make some big plays. That's what he does. He's going to run around. He's going to really stress that defensive line. They're going to need to keep him in the pocket. Dante's a better athlete than Fernando is, although he's still not a scrambling quarterback. He's a better athlete, and boy, he makes some throws off schedule that are beautiful. I think that this offense and the timing of this Indiana offense is running so hot right now. Indiana wins this game.
And so to the other side, with a surprising Ole Miss team getting ready to face a arguably even more surprising Miami team who we thought was dead in the water before this thing even began, who many people would have made the case shouldn't have been even in the field to begin with. You see the way that Miami has played. I have a hard time, again, rolling with Carson Beck, as I almost called him Carson Wentz. Carson Beck is the quarterback that I trust more in this particular matchup, but he proved me wrong against Georgia, Fitzy. Or, excuse me, he proved me wrong in the quarterfinal. I was very surprised to see him play that sound of a game and a complimentary football performance, and also that defensive unit for Miami is a cheat code.
Yeah, here's the thing. I've been wrong about Miami every game so far. I mean, literally every game so far. And so now it's quite easy for me to look at it and say, okay, I think as an overall complete team, Ole Miss, much easier task for Miami, than what they just survived. I agree with all of that, but this defense is just so suffocating. Trinidad Chambliss, though, again, we talk about stressing the other team. Trinidad Chambliss is going to stress the defensive line of Miami. If they get up the field too quickly, he's going to escape the pocket. If they play too much man, he's going to have huge running lanes, right? So Chambliss, and as well as he's playing, scares the lights out of me if I'm Miami. But he has to have a perfect game to beat this defense, and that's asking a lot. I don't think Miami is the second best team in the country. And I'm stunned that Ole Miss has put themselves in this situation. But if right now, I wouldn't even feel comfortable betting the Costco extra value, the $1.50 hot dog with the drink. I wouldn't even feel comfortable betting that much money. This game is such a pick 'em to me. But if you forced me to bet the $1.50 hot dog, I'd bet on Miami. And I've just been so wrong about Carson Beck's efficiency. I've been so wrong about what a difference their defense makes. Man, if you get negative down and distance situation against Miami, they're going to kill you. And so I'm really worried about Ole Miss needing big plays down the field, pressing, and that turns into turnovers.
Jason Fitz, what is the most attractive head coaching opening in the NFL?
The Giants. And I'll die on the hill of the Giants because you have enough proof of concept to know you probably have a quarterback in Jackson Dart. I think a lot of people like Jackson Dart, but you also have a dynamic, one of the best young wide receivers in the league once he's healthy. You have a young running back that's really interesting, and you have a bunch of guys on the defensive line. So least amount of holes to fill there with the quarterback that you have some proof of concept on. There's some things you need to improve in this game, but I think the Giants provide a real opportunity. And the NFC East is wildly up and down. I mean, the Eagles don't look as scary right now as they did a year ago. And Cliff Kingsbury not even with the Commanders now anymore, shockingly, suddenly. And the Cowboys have already fired their defensive coordinator. So, yeah, you look across the board, the East is pretty wide open. The Giants are a landmark job, a lot of cachet to it, and they have the most skill position pieces already in place. I like the Giants as the best job.
I don't like that Joe Shane's still there.
I agree with that. But I also think if I'm a head coach hired today, I'll survive Joe Shane. Like the next fire is going to be the GM, not the head coach, which is dysfunctional as we talk about all the time. But I'll survive that fire.
Yeah, that's just such a tough cycle to enter in, covering a team that has done so much cycling of late. And again, here is an extreme example of erratic behavior and decision making. But New York, I struggle with it, Fitzy, only in the sense that I don't trust Jackson Dart to control himself in the way that he needs to be controlled from his style of play. And I don't like the idea of entering into a cycle like the one you've just described, where the general manager is now on tenuous footing. And frankly, I have no idea what Malik Neighbors. I know ACL tears are routine at this point in time, but I have no idea what Malik Neighbors is going to look like, or Cam Scatterby when he comes back, for that matter.
Those are all fair. I think those are fair pushbacks to
Just
that.
Devil's advocate. I'm largely. I honestly think it's the Falcons, but I understand that their cap situation isn't great.
They don't have a first-round pick either.
I'm out.
Yeah, but they got
Falcons.
a quarter. They got everything.
Do they have a quarterback?
No, they don't.
How are you going to sit there and confidently say they have a quarterback?
Go ahead, Fitz.
Michael Penix Jr. has played 14 games total in his career. Some have looked good, some have looked bad. He's been oft injured. He's already going to be 26 going to next season. So you may or may not have your young quarterback. In the meantime, Kirk Cousins costs you way too much and is way too old to be somebody bankable that you can move forward with. On top of the fact that they have one search firm finding their GM, another unrelated search firm finding their head coach, and then they're going to have a first-time president of football operations in Matt Ryan. We have no idea what that actually looks like as a structure, on top of the fact that they just fired a coach that was almost a 500 coach. So, they want immediate results in a situation where they don't have a clear path to a quarterback I trust at all. It's amazing that a year ago it was, oh, my God, every one of these quarterbacks from that class is a home run. And now we're sitting there saying, well, Penix, I don't know. J.J. McCarthy, I don't know, right? So I don't think there's enough proof of concept at the quarterback position, and there's too many other variables in the way that they're structuring it. I don't like the Atlanta job at all. I'd rather have the Titans job. I'd rather have the Raiders job than the Atlanta job.
That expensive and old quarterback just went 5-2 down the stretch, though, for what it's worth. Yeah. I know that they're not likely to keep him.
Yeah, but that's not sustainable. You could do that for a year with Kirk. If you're Kevin Stefanski, who has an existing relationship with Kirk Cousins, you could do that for a year. How are you getting a quarterback? And this is why, again, I got into an argument off air after his show this morning with Dominique Foxworth, who was saying, if you're bad, don't draft a quarterback. It doesn't solve anything. I agree with that. But this concept of I'm going to go get a quarterback next year, every team says that. What we're not banking on is the fact that there are, 12 teams this year that finished with double-digit losses? So the Cardinals need a quarterback. The Browns probably need a quarterback. The Jets need a quarterback. And none of them have the ammunition to move up and get a quarterback. So every time a coach or GM or a fan base tells me, we'll worry about a quarterback later, my answer is how? Because you can't count on out-sucking the rest of the NFL. Too many teams suck. And you can't count on outbidding the rest of the teams that suck, because you don't even know if you're going to end up like a couple of years ago where teams offered a king's ransom to the Commanders and the Patriots to move up for 2 or 3. And both of those teams said, no, we're good with Drake May and Jaden Daniels. So if you don't have a clear path to a quarterback, I am out on that being a legitimate job.
Speaking of the remodified contract between the Falcons and Kirk Cousins, basically tweaks the final 2 years of his deal, and according to Field Yates, sets the stage for a decision on his Atlanta future to be made by the third day of the 2026 league year, which is March 13th. So very ambiguous, Fitz, but we'll see if any more clarity comes.
Yeah, and Kirk has made it clear he wants to keep playing. So, let's look at this as a head coaching. If Kevin Stefanski takes the Falcons job, what you are learning is Kirk Cousins is going to be the starter next year to me, because they have existing time together on task. They know each other. They know each other's love languages. They know all of these things. So that's the thing to look out for.
Love languages. Okay. Jason Fitz, always kind enough to give us his time on Tuesdays. At Jason Fitz is where you follow him. Yahoo Sports Daily and Fox Sports Radio is where you watch and listen. Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great week.
I owe Fitzy a huge debt of gratitude because he got me a face value ticket for the Peach Bowl. where they are going for like $2,000 a pop. You could get into the quarterfinals for a reasonable price, but the semifinals, the price has gone up. So shout out Fitzy.
So as Mendoza finishes out his incredible run with Indiana, Indiana already has plans for a quarterback next year. And the portal is going insane at the quarterback position. And we'll update the latest next.
Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. You will hear Mike Boronzi's press conference in its entirety in 13 minutes from now. What they are looking for in the next Titans head coach, how he feels about the way that this season went about as well as last season did. You may be able to say some things were better here, some things were worse there, but I think that he was pretty accountable when we spoke to him earlier in the day, and we want the vast majority of you to hear his entire comments, so we will do that at noon today. But what Lucas teased is transfer portal chaos, because the portal is portaling at the highest degree. Indiana victorious in the portal again. I'll take a TCU quarterback here. I'll take a Michigan State wide receiver there. What has been the most, where is Tennessee? Because Tennessee is critically in need of reinforcements. Lance Hurd did enter the portal.
Yep.
Last I saw, I know that they did, or at least they are in the running for an additional offensive lineman who is in the portal if that they have not already gotten a commitment.
Yeah, sounds like 247 Sports at least is reporting that Ori Williams, an LSU tackle, has committed to Tennessee. 6'8", 335.
Another one.
Who played in 12 games in his redshirt freshman year. So, yeah, dipping
6'8"?
6'8".
Big boy.
At right tackle. I assume he will come in and play right tackle for Tennessee as David Sanders, the rising sophomore, the 5-star, will kick out and play left tackle. So, Tennessee going back into the LSU tackle well. They've already secured a safety from Kansas State in Quay Moss. But as far as the quarterback position is concerned, Tennessee's in an interesting spot because the movement is happening all over the place. You mentioned Josh Hoover, the TCU QB. He's headed to Indiana. Just add that on top of what Indiana's doing. They're also the most attractive destination for a portal quarterback after turning Mendoza into a Heisman winner and a probable number 1 pick.
And making Curtis Rourke look like something.
He got drafted. Notre Dame quarterback Kenny Minchie, the local product, committed to Nebraska, but flipped and has reportedly signed with Kentucky. So he's going to go play for Will Stein in Kentucky. Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons, who was usurped by Trinidad Chambliss this year, is headed to Missouri to play for Eli Drinkwitz. Meanwhile, this Trinidad Chambliss thing is kind of just hanging over Ole Miss right now as he has reportedly signed a new deal for next year, but is still pending a waiver to see if he can come back with another year of eligibility next year. North Texas quarterback Drew Mestamaker is going to follow his head coach Eric Morris to Oklahoma State. Eric Morris, Cam Ward's former head coach at Incarnate Word and OC at Washington State. Brendan Sorsby, so far, is the money man in the transfer portal. Reported $5 million deal at Texas Tech out of Cincinnati. So this is obviously going to keep going up. We saw last year Carson Beck, Darius Mensah going to Duke from Tulane, making around $4 million. It's only going to keep going up. And $5 million is the new number for Brendan Sorsby, who kind of had some ties to Tennessee when he came out. He wasn't the biggest name in the portal. He wasn't a Sam Levitt or a DJ Lagway. So I'm slightly surprised that his stock has skyrocketed the way that it has. Maybe a product of Texas Tech and their investment level right now. But Tennessee's not going to spend that kind of money on a quarterback. I don't think Josh Heupel is going to really at any point here in the near future spend big money on a portal quarterback. Because, number one, you're waiting on Joey Aguilar's situation. What's going to happen with him? He's a plaintiff in Diego Pavia's lawsuit for another year of eligibility.
Also had a benign tumor removed.
Yeah, according to Ian Rappaport.
We didn't talk about that, or at least I didn't.
No. At some point, I think we do need to take a moment to kind of sit back and appreciate Joey Aguilar when we think back to where Tennessee was less than a year from now, or less than a year ago, when Nico left and there was panic and what's going to happen with this kid. And then he gets in there, leads the SEC in passing, and had the third highest single season in Tennessee football history, throwing the football in passing yardage. But anyway, you wonder what's going to happen with Joey Aguilar. You've obviously got the two young quarterbacks there in Faison Brandon and George McIntyre. Plan A certainly is not to start one of those two guys. But the thing that is hanging over all of this is Ty Simpson's current status. Because Ty Simpson, who was just bounced with Alabama, blown out by Indiana, he cracked a rib, got hurt at the Rose Bowl, is reportedly, according to Chris Lowe, evaluating his options for the NFL draft. If he does not like what he hears back with his draft prospects, Tennessee is sounding like it will be in play to land Ty Simpson out of Alabama. I heard Austin Price of VolQuest say that with Ramon and Will this morning, that if he does not declare for the draft, then absolutely Tennessee is going to be right there in the conversation. There's a lot of smoke there, which certainly would not have been predicted even a couple of weeks ago when Ty Simpson was, entering the playoff or playing in the SEC championship game against Georgia. But that right now is the most interesting component of this Tennessee offseason so far. What happens with Ty Simpson, the Martin, Tennessee product out of Westview High School, who was heavily recruited as a 5-star by Tennessee? Do you remember a couple of years ago when Tennessee played UT Martin and the Vols kind of ran it up?
Yeah.
And Josh Heupel, who never does trick plays, ran like a trick play. I can't remember. Maybe Princeton Fant, like on a double pass, was throwing the ball and just ran it up on UT Martin.
It was a topic of conversation for us the next day.
It was.
Or 2 days after, I guess.
Josh Heupel and Jason Simpson, head coach at UT Martin, father of Ty Simpson, had kind of an icy post-game exchange. And we wondered, is that from the recruitment between Ty? Was Heupel kind of miffed by how that went? So it would be interesting for all of that to come full circle and Ty Simpson transfer from Bama to Tennessee. But there are things that have to happen before we get to that point. But portal's all over the place.
Is Tennessee a better land? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robert.
No. Mine was dumb. You go first.
You don't know that mine's not dumb?
That might be one of the nicest things you've ever said to me. But you go first, sir. I cede the floor.
Okay.
For the namesake of this show.
It's really the only thing I have going for me. Is Alabama a better spot for a quarterback than Tennessee right now?
I would say for the NFL draft conversation?
Generally.
Generally?
All in. Because it's all a part of the... If you're Ty Simpson, it's all a part of the conversation. Tennessee, we have seen some level of... What was that sigh, by the way? It was very guttural.
I was laughing at something Robert said.
From your loins.
Don't worry about it.
Tennessee's offense is going to be a knock at the next level. Whether you think it should be or not,
Yep.
it is. Like,
Yep.
that's just, I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm just telling Tennessee fans.
That's a fact.
NFL talent evaluators, they look at it as less than, and that there is going to be a greater learning curve for a Vols quarterback/skill guy. Darnell Wright is different.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, you're not breaking any ground there. That is absolutely true.
So, Alabama, then, for Ty Simpson.
To my dumb thing?
I would say Alabama because he would have that continuity there, but it will be interesting.
It's okay, buddy. I heard you. He didn't. He likes to ignore you.
What you got?
What was that big dude y'all just signed, 6'8" guy? Because I was like, surely to God, that is the largest man. And he might be the largest in terms of size and weight.
What's the weight?
Like 388. Didn't you say?
He is 6'8", 335.
335.
388 would be insane for a tackle.
That's what I heard. I was like, is this guy built like a refrigerator? They had to kill whole villages to feed this guy. What?
T'Vondre Sweat's not even 388.
Well,
is he? I don't know what his official weight was.
He said if he could get down to 366, he'd be a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
I'm assuming he's.
I thought it was like 350 or $355.
There's no way.
Hall of Fame. Well, no, that was the benchmark that he put for. I saw Jeffrey Simmons said he didn't give T'Vondre Sweat a choice. He's coming with him to
Jeff
Texas.
was very serious about that yesterday in the locker room. He goes, I didn't give him a choice. He's coming with me to Dallas.
You're training with me, bud.
But he is the largest guy on your team in terms of height and weight.
Oh, it has to be.
But you've got another 6'8" guy. Where are you finding the Jeremiah's Hurd? Where are you finding these guys?
Who?
6'8", 333.
He just made a face like he doesn't even know
He's a
who that is.
redshirt freshman. I assume he's Lance Hurd's brother.
You said Jeremiah Hurd?
Jeremias.
Jeremias. Interesting name.
Jeremias. Incoming seriously. I'm sure he will hit you up very soon.
From Rome, Georgia.
But you've already got a 6'8" guy. You're about to have the daggum, what was the Undertaker? I think it was I can't remember anyway. But you're about to have two big-ass dudes at tackle.
Are you thinking of Dennis Kelly?
Huh?
Dennis was 6'7".
Okay.
Don't. It's so stupid.
It is dumb, but I can't help but juggle those balls every time.
It's
just fun to do.
Unbelievably stupid. You know what I'm going to start saying? I'm going to start doing what my mom does between 6s and 7s, which is apparently like a 1940s phrase or whatever that apparently this is stemmed from, as we just get dumber as a society. Anyway, that's the portal update. Coming up next, Mike Boronzi's press conference as the Titans head into the most important offseason since they became the Tennessee Titans. I'm Buck Rising, 104.5 The Zone.
12:02, good afternoon from the Circus Sports of the Mid-Kentucky Down studio. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans coaching search is underway. General Manager Mike Boronzi met with the media earlier today. You will hear from him in a couple of minutes. So far, the Titans have reportedly requested to interview Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, among others. The Titans reportedly will also speak with Kevin Stefanski and Raheem Morris. Cliff Kingsbury has parted ways with the Washington Commanders as offensive coordinator. He will reportedly be a candidate for the Titans as well. Tennessee Hoops in action tonight, looking for the first SEC win. They host Texas at 8. You can hear the Vol Network call right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Mike Boronzi spoke for the first time in quite some time today about the search for the head coach, about Cam Ward's rookie season, and whether or not he and his front office that put together this particular team did fail with a 3-14 finish, given that they did the exact same thing by record that last year's team did. We go now to Mike Boronzi's press conference.
For all the work that they put in here this season, it's a massive operation. From ownership to the coaches, to the players, personnel staff, support staff, and our business staff as well. So, just a big thank you to them for all the work that they put in. I want to thank our fans, for continuing to support us, through a difficult season. No one likes losing, and it hurts. It hurts because we care. We care about representing this franchise in the right way. We want to represent the city, the state, this fan base, because it is prideful, and they do care about this organization. And I promise you this, we're going to do everything in our power here to turn this thing as quickly as possible. I think we have a lot of really good people in this organization. That's what gives us hope. I think we have a lot of good young building blocks on this roster. I think we have one of the best defensive players in the league, in Jeff Simmons. I think, we have a young quarterback that he's faced a ton of adversity this year. And he continued to get better. So there's hope and belief here. We're going to attack this offseason through free agency, the draft. The first thing we have to do here, obviously, is hire the right head coach here, the right leader for this organization. And we're excited about that whole process. I'm not going to really touch on a lot of the candidates that have been rumored out there, just out of respect for the whole process, really. And just I want to hit a couple of things just on the structure changes that were put out in Amy's letter. I'm really not going to add much to that. I think Chad and I work great together. We have a partnership, and he allows me, and I'm grateful for him, to really focus in and hone in on my responsibilities, which is to put this roster together and focus on the coaching staff. So with that, I will open up to questions.
Two parts, Mike.
Yeah.
Now that you report directly to Amy, are you empowered to speak for her as Chad and Burke are? And if so, can you assure people that the era of constant change is over, that you're going to hire a coach, that you're going to stick with the coach, that you and the coach are going to have a long-term plan for this team that doesn't entail change?
Well, that's certainly the goal. Anytime anybody, gets in front of a microphone, we're representing Amy in this organization. So, and to your other point, we've done a lot of work here on these candidates, and we intend to bring in the right coach for this team long term. That's going to work with us to grow this team, to get it better. to really instill a culture here. That's what we need, Paul. We need a leader that's going to show up here every day here to work and really just instill that belief, instill the attention to detail, the accountability piece that we need here, and the unity piece to bring everything together here in this organization. So I do feel really good about the process that we've gone through to identify some of these candidates. And that's the goal. That's the intention, to get a head coach in here that's going to be here for the long term and to win a lot of games.
Mike, you don't want to rule anybody out based on them not having done the job of head coach before, but how do you kind of balance previous head coaching experience versus more of an unknown commodity in that department?
Yeah, that's a good question, Buck. I mean, we've certainly, gone over that a lot, and there's some first-time coaches that really do well. And there's some, former head coaches that have done it before, so they've gone through it. There's nothing like sitting in that chair, right, for the first time. There's so much more responsibility as a head coach than being a coordinator or calling plays, right? So what you really have to do is a lot of background research on these guys, which we've done. And, we have a lot of people like myself that have been in the league a long time, and we know people in every building. So you're asking guys that work for these people, that worked with them, that worked above them. We've reached out to players just to see how that leadership is in the building. But it's hard really to tell until they get in that chair. But you can do a lot of research and work in terms of, how do they present themselves in the room? How do they hold their players accountable? How do they hold their staff accountable to take the next step to be the head coach? So those are two things that we do look at, the former head coach that has been through it, and what are the mistakes they made, and have they learned from them? We look forward to bringing these guys in here and taking them through a thorough interview process.
Through that process, how do you go about weighing your personal relationship or familiarity with some of these candidates as opposed to someone who may be new? Because it's natural to lean back on your familiarity.
Yeah, that's a good question. You have to make the best. You have to remove that piece, that biased opinion on anybody that you might have a relationship with, and you have to make the best decision for the organization. And that's really the bottom line. Who's going to be the best leader and coach for this organization?
To what extent is it your goal to replicate or recreate the model you saw in Kansas City? And how important is it to you that the candidate you go after reflects what you saw in Kansas City versus being open to somebody who has succeeded but maybe not the way you've experienced before?
I'm looking to create the model for the Tennessee Titans with the people that we have here. I've learned a ton of things, Nick, from where I was in the past. I've taken certain things on how we evaluate players and how we work with coaches during that process and how we do certain things. But this is our team here and the people that we have. So I've certainly learned and benefited from a lot of the stuff that in the past, but I think we have a group here that's been in different places, and we want to make it our own.
A guy like Bones Fossil, who came in and turned the special teams unit around, would you encourage the next head coach to hang on to a guy like that, or would you let it be his decision?
It's ultimately the head coach's decision, but Bones has done a tremendous job here.
Did you have any role in hiring Andy in Kansas City or any of the searches that happened?
I was a pro scout then, so I had no.
So what experience and who will you rely on? In this?
Good question. I've had a lot of mentors in the league that I've talked to, and going through that process and how they came to that decision to hire that person. So. Like I said, it's not only me though. It's Chad, the people in the search committee. It's Dave, it's Reggie, guys that have been through it before too. So you certainly lean on that, on those mentors, in terms of how do you make the best decision for the team.
What do you think about an alpha personality? How much is that something you want in that guy? It seems to go with the leader of men kind of.
I think that's gets a little overrated sometimes. I mean, leadership can come in a lot of different forms. There's leaders that are more quiet, but they're demanding. The biggest thing is being demanding. You don't always have to be heard, be a big alpha. It's just demanding things out of your players and staff, and then having a vision and having standards in the organization. You certainly don't have to be a big alpha personality to do that.
What qualities you're looking for in this person?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a lot to do with leadership, Paul. It's having a clear vision, having standards for what you do, and then having that person, not be afraid of conflict in a negative way, but being able to hold people accountable is the biggest thing. Throughout the whole building, Paul, staff, players, and how do you do that? And that person ultimately has to connect everybody in the building too. So you have to have that balance there of, being demanding, connecting people in the building, and just bringing people together. So those are the big things that really we're looking for. And obviously they have to have a strategic vision in terms of philosophy and X's and O's as well.
What do you think about Cam's
candidates do you expect to interview, and what's the timetable for having a new coach in place, knowing that some guys who are currently in the playoffs are off limits for right now?
There is no timetable. I think we have to make the best decision, for the team. So it'll take as long as we have to do it to find the best person. What was the second part of your question? Sorry.
About how many candidates do you hope to interview?
Yeah, we're not really sure right now. We're going through that right now. We're kind of narrowing down some of the list. I don't have an exact number here for you right now.
Cam's first season, how important is it to find a coach or staff that can help him develop?
Yeah, no, what I think of his first season, I think he went through a ton of adversity. And I think, he battled through it and he got better. The coach we're looking for on that side of the ball, whether it be the head coach, if an offensive coach, or just the offensive coordinator, is to help him develop more, and really to find a coach that can really accentuate some of the strengths of the players. You're always looking for that, Jim. A coach, really good coaches know their personnel, know their players, and what do they do well, and how do you put them in the best position to win. We're looking for someone that can, really look at Cam, and this is what he does well, and this is what our receivers do well. This is what our running backs do well. That's what we're looking for.
When it comes to those specifics about how a coach knows his personnel or how a coach holds people accountable, to follow up on TD's question about the guys you know from Kansas City, you've probably seen Matt Nagy or Steve Spagnuolo or Dave Tobe, whomever, hold people accountable or set up, a design based off the personnel. Mm-hmm. How do you find out those things about coaches that you haven't been around, that you don't know intimately, in just one or two job interviews?
Great question, Jared. And I think that's, we've had a long runway here to do a ton of research, like I was saying. And we have connections in every building, whether they be coaches they worked with, scouts, support staff. So those research calls are invaluable for us, really. Because you're right, Jared, you go through an interview and some people are really, they're so prepared for the interview now. That's why I think the research that we do on these candidates is going to be really important, and that we have done, and we've done a ton of it.
6 job openings right now around the league, Mike. Why, in your opinion, is this job an attractive one for prospective candidates?
Like I said, I think we have some really good people in the building, people that are respected throughout the league. In the front office here, I think we have a young rookie quarterback that is ascending. Obviously, be a second-year player next year. I think we have a young nucleus of players that you can build on here, that have started to kind of build this culture the way we want it to be. Jeff Simmons. I mean, who wouldn't want to coach Jeff Simmons on defense? We have the city of Nashville, really, I mean, it's a great place to live. And and we have a new stadium coming. So there's a lot of really good positive things to come here. But the first thing is the people in the building. We have, a lot of experience here throughout the building, a lot of good people, and we have, support from our ownership group, and Amy supports us in everything that we do here. So, those are really the reasons why I think, this will be a really attractive place for a coach.
Mike, Cam Ward got a lot of attention when he said that he wanted to be involved in this coaching search, that he talked with you and Chad. How do you envision that involvement? Obviously, don't see him making the decision on who you hire, but how do you want him involved?
I have a lot of conversations with Cam in my office, and sometimes he says a little too much. But I love Cam because he's all ball like all day. We have a lot of different conversations about things, and I said at some point here, once we narrow down, once we get down to the final candidates, maybe it's a quick hello but obviously Cam's a big part of what we're doing here. So to not involve your players and value their opinions on things, I've done that a lot in the past, and I think we should do that.
What's your very early view of the draft help there is at the positions that are crucial for you, edge, receiver, and cornerback?
Paul, I have a good idea right now. It's probably a better question at the combine. Got a lot of time there, a lot of tape watching too. But there is some good depth at the edge position, receiver position, corners that I've looked at so far. But that would probably be a better question to hit me up at the combine. I could probably get a better answer on that.
Before the season, you and Chad said there wasn't a lot of star power on the roster. With where the team is at right now, how much of a priority is that as you build the roster this offseason, adding star power?
Yeah, I mean, I think guys develop into stars in this league too. So I think some young players that we have now could be potential stars. And we do need more talent on the roster. For sure. And we're going to do our best here in free agency in the draft to add more. But that's the goal every year, when you're trying to build a team from the ground up, and, you're trying to add those type of players, those impact players, those difference makers that can really win you football games.
From when Brian was fired to now, just how much time has the priority of the search been? Like, has it been an everyday thing where you've been doing research on this, or did it intensify later in the season? Just when did the search become your top focus?
We met pretty early on after that as the committee, and we started to do research. So we've had a long runway here.
Who would be on that committee?
I'm sorry?
Who was up, you said, met the committee?
Myself, Chad, Dave Ziegler, Reggie McKenzie, Dan Sagany.
Did the midseason coaching change maybe go better than you expected it would?
I'm glad it's never good to go through a coaching change in the middle of the season, obviously, but I do want to credit Mike McCoy, and I should have mentioned this earlier, and thanks for bringing this up. He has done a tremendous job really just holding this place together with his positivity. He was a former head coach before, but my working relationship with him every day has been seamless. He brought energy every day to the building, he's detailed, and I really thank for, he was a big part of just helping these guys here get over the hump and really just come to the building every day with enthusiasm, and Mike did that.
Mike, every year we see teams flip their record very quickly. Jaguars this year, Bears, Patriots. That hasn't happened for this team during this downturn. Is this a year where, I know you can't totally turn the roster around, but with an influx of a limited number of people and the right new head coach, is there reason to expect you could be a team that does that in 2026?
Sure. I absolutely do. I think when you have a young quarterback that's ascending and you have some good young players, Now you have to hit on all the right decisions. And like you said, you got to hit on the head coach. You got to hit on the guys that you identify in free agency. You got to hit on the draft. But it's certainly possible.
You're predicated on obviously building around Cam. Does Will Levis still have a role on this team in 2026?
He does, yeah. I talked with Will just yesterday before he left, and I stayed in communication with him during his rehab. So, yeah, no, he's looking forward to getting back in here with the team.
Is he healthy?
He's doing well. Yeah, he is healthy.
When you interview candidates, how much is reasonable to expect what they plan to do with the staff around them, what they can know in an interview? And given what you just said about Mike McCoy, is there any push from the organization to keep that force in the building in some way, somehow?
Yeah, I don't want to touch on the potential, the candidates out there. I know that they've been rumored, and with Mike, I think Mike's done a great job. So we're, there will be, as we interview people, Ev and the PR department will send it out. But he's done a great job here, Mike. What was the second part of your question? Sorry.
Just the idea of when you sit down with a candidate, obviously it's all hypothetical.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear from them about building their staff?
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, that question absolutely comes up because that's really it's really one of the hardest things to do because, some teams are in the playoffs and they'll present a staff and they'll give you some candidates, but can you really get that candidate? Are they still under contract? So, that's the hard part of the timing of these interviews and the hirings where, they can present you a whole list of candidates, but sometimes it's hard to get those guys. But those are the questions we need to get answered.
The perception of Matt Nagy is that he was not a good coach in Chicago. And there's a little public perception that he's at fault for Kansas City's regression as an offense this past year. But that's the public perception. You know Matt Nagy. So when looking at that, how much do you factor in what you know about a particular candidate's ability to coach compared to the public perception or what the fans' perception might be?
Yeah, listen, I have a great relationship with Matt. I've worked with him for years. I thought he did some good things in Chicago, and he did a lot of good things when he returned to Kansas City. Like all these other coaches, though, Jared, you have to do a ton of research on them. And there's things you still have to research on people that you know.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
That is Titans GM Mike Boronzi. So we will take your reaction. 615-737-1045. What did you think about what the GM had to say about the coaching search, about Matt Nagy in particular, about Cam Ward, about Will Levis? I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone.
So the power went out, came back on, and Mike Boronzi spoke for about 25 minutes on the Titans head coaching search, which is pretty much underway. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best in the world. HattieB.com or the Hattie B's app is how you can order for pickup or delivery, or just walk into any one of their 7 Middle Tennessee locations. So a lot of general stuff from Boronzi, obviously, heading into this coaching search. But if one thing stuck out to you, what would it be from the Titans GM?
That he is putting an emphasis on removing any bias he has about people that he's previously worked with, i.e., the name that seems to be the most polarizing in the cycle among Titans fans, Matt Nagy. That's my biggest singular takeaway from that. We knew that they weren't going to narrow their search down to just people with head coaching experience or just people with an offensive background or just, whatever box you wanted to drop any of these candidates into. But that, I think, is a huge... Now, I don't know. There's no reason that I would be able to get inside Mike Boronzi's head and say, okay, but can you actually do that? Because it's one thing to say it, right? Because we all have some level of bias with people that we know or people that we like or people that we don't like. It's really tough to do the thing that he's saying he has to do. But I like that the emphasis is on, no, I have to keep this as even-keeled as humanly possible. And he was asked, the final question of the press conference was specifically about Matt Nagy and what public perception of him is versus Mike Boronzi's specific dealings in it. And he was complimentary without going over the top about Matt Nagy's job in Chicago and their time together in Kansas City. But I think that was probably my biggest takeaway because Spagnuolo sounds like he's going to interview.
Well, they've requested to interview.
Yeah. So Spagnuolo, Nagy, hell, there may be additional people that have come through the Chiefs organization. 16 years with a team is a long time in the case of Mike Boronzi prior to landing here. So there's probably more connections than the easiest one that fans are drawing. And that, by the way, is fair. Like, I'm not chastising fans for immediately jumping to the Nagy thing because Boronzi was featured in that. I don't want to call it a Dan. I said Mike Pompey, by the way, yesterday, not Dan Pompey. Mike Pompey, I think, was a former Secretary of State or something like that. So Dan Pompey of The Athletic. Boronzi was featured in how Matt Nagy helped Mike Boronzi prepare for the Titans GM interview and opportunity that he ultimately got. So it's an easy thing for us to latch onto, for fans to latch onto. There's a million people that have come through winning organizations. The Patriots have done this. Hell, the Titans did this when they were worth a damn a couple of years ago. There's a bunch of every time you look at one of these playoff teams, there's people that came through this organization during their best periods all over the place. So don't just singularly narrow your focus on Matt Nagy because he's still with the Kansas City Chiefs. There's plenty of people that Mike Boronzi has had interactions with.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Bill in Nashville wants to weigh in on what the GM had to say. Hey, Bill.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not much.
I guess the one thing that I noticed about the press conference was the amount of times that Boronzi said the word
Is that important to you?
It's just really kind of weird.
Thanks for the call, Bill.
What?
That position could say that many times, man.
So
what are you talking about?
When we carried Cam Ward's press conference yesterday, too, the F&M Bank chat was just filled with people talking about somebody's got to teach Cam Ward some public speaking, and there's too many ums. Like,
what?
These guys are football people. Like,
the guy sits in his office with a clicker, going through tape of NFL prospects. And you're surprised when they dust him off and bring him out of the cave that he's not some kind of, that he's not Barack Obama level orator
all
at the podium?
Oh, that would have been incredible.
I mean, there's nobody better, right?
Yeah. listen here, this is what's going to happen.
Like Donnie's got some fun stuff to him.
Wait a minute.
Make it clear.
I'm trying to pinpoint.
That's not Barack Obama.
I want to tell you what I'm going to do.
I don't want you to get
with the Titans roster.
I don't want you to do anything too close to Barack Obama because I'm scared you'll do something racist.
Michelle told me.
That is not.
Stop smoking cigarettes.
That
was closer.
That is someone, but it's not Obama.
Well, I'm trying, but also
I don't want you to try anymore. I'm scared.
Mike Boronzi. I'll leave that for you.
If Mike Boronzi is wasting any time at all from this coaching search,
the caller
worrying about his public speaking ability.
Did I do well enough at the podium? I don't give a damn what he sounds like.
That's so funny. That's such a weird thing to care about.
The guy said it's weird that he said so many times at the podium. I mean, should we keep a clicker of how many times the three of us who are allegedly in the broadcasting industry say the word or whatever the case may be? It's a normal thing. It's an uncomfortable situation. For God's sakes, the power went down for the first 10 minutes of the press conference, and he's just sitting there very uncomfortable because he's not somebody who wants to do this on a regular basis.
Which I personally
What a weirdo thing for you to latch on to. Reevaluate yourself, sir.
The chat is just fighting each other. It's in between people with torches and pitchforks going, "Get this guy out of here!" and other people going, "He should be well-spoken."
What are you talking about?
This is like is a hot dog a sandwich or a taco? This is the conversation that is so divisive.
I played you 24 minutes of your general manager speaking about your head coaching search, and the thing that you come away with the most is he said too many times.
You know, we spend so much time,
Jesus Christ,
worrying about the wrong things, like, is a hot dog a sandwich? When we should really be asking, is a sandwich a hot dog?
Ooh.
We had a conversation the other day. When's the last time you guys been to Subway?
High school.
A very long time.
High school.
If you'll remember, they don't cut that bread into two pieces. It is one piece that they leave attached on the back and fill it up with your accoutrement.
Just easier to close up.
I would start the argument that Subway sandwiches are tacos.
Or are they hot dogs?
Or it could be a hot dog, I guess. Yeah, hot dog.
615-737-1045. What?
I know.
I think the key component of a taco is
You're
the
right. I'm
tortilla.
glad I pulled over for that. for you to longingly say hot dog into the microphone. Thank you. Last call for phone calls. Make them better than that, dumbass. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. Last call for phone calls, unless you're going to bitch about the general manager saying the word too much. Then do something else with your day.
What's his name?
Mike Boronzi?
Mike Boronzi. Boronzi.
You know what? I'm glad that you said something because I needed a reason to focus my attention on you for a second.
No, there's a conversation to be had. I don't want to.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I would like for you to go along with me on this because we were lucky enough to get the opportunity to go to the Music City Bowl. I did not go. I flaked, but you two did. And at some point in time, I thought that there might be some level of coverage from the Music City Bowl for the two of you getting all-inclusive passes at the Titans Radio Suite.
I mean, kinda.
And instead, the coverage that I am greeted with is you shoveling how many different items of food into your face and making TikToks in the Titans Radio Suite instead of anything to do. And maybe you would just prefer to forget that Illinois beat Tennessee. Also, we need to talk about the SEC and the Big Ten at some point in time because the balance of power has shifted. Old ACC truther back there. And you and I are about to gang up on this propagandist that sits in front of us telling me that Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss in the playoff, there's a better story, a better made for motion picture movie than Indiana this year. Nonsense.
They already made a movie about Indiana. It's called Hoosiers.
That movie is terrible.
I've never seen it.
It's awful. Don't waste your time.
It's not even accurate. They don't even talk like that there.
R.I.P. Gene Hackman.
Well, hang on. Back to me. Yes, Titans Radio Suite was gracious enough to give us some passes, and I just thought that I would highlight the upper echelon experience that you get when you go to the Titans Radio Suite. All you can eat, all you can drink, bathroom, easily accessible, not fighting people to pee on the floor.
I can't imagine what you did to that bathroom after all the things that you ate.
Multiple times. Ugh. And it's great. Great toilet paper. It's not even double ply. I think it's triple. It was very soft, Charmin-esque. But the coverage that you were alluding to is a video that I've put on my Instagram. You can go check it out. Robbie, ROBBY _Walsh, WALSH. Go follow me. I put a video out of all the things that I ate while I was in the Titans Radio Suite, and I thought it was kind of funny. Thought it was nice, and the food exceptional. You know the best part?
Hattie B's.
They had Hattie B's there, and they had Hattie B's pterodactyl wings.
Oh yeah,
they were massive.
Massive.
I could only eat one. I wanted Lucas to say one right after me.
And what he left out that you can kind of see in the video, but it is slightly censored. That when Robert and I were meeting at the stadium,
my fat ass.
He was Ubering from the station, and he texted me as I was on my way and just said, "Oh my God!" As soon as I got into the Uber, I ripped my pants.
I ripped the crotch out of my pants.
I'm telling you, a massive hole in his pants. Right there.
No.
Right
what
there.
kind of pants were you wearing?
Like denim khakis.
How long have you had those pants?
Oh, probably years. But I threw my leg up. I'm demonstrating on Zone TV. I threw my leg up to get in this big-ass Uber like, and when I did, all I heard was, hang on, this is really high-class radio, and my pants just ripped. Right, I don't know how loose we want to get here. My saccular was hanging out of my pants, basically. So when we got there,
you were free balling?
No, they were just hanging, dude. I don't
like when he sat.
Please,
I'm telling you, it was
a gape.
No.
It was wide
a gape
open.
Is the word.
Oh, I hate that
It was
word.
wide open. So
I was trying to avoid the word agape, but it's the only word.
So I had to sit at the Music City like some like kid with like their legs crossed, like they have to pee, like to cover up the hole that is the giant crater that was the hole where I ripped my.
Have you ever had a situation like Shirley, your ass? Shirley,
I've ripped a couple jeans in my day.
Too. Yeah. I've done that.
Yeah, yours happened in the back.
No way those things have been.
Oh yeah,
have been contained.
I have bent over to pick something up to hear that sound. Yeah, 100%.
No.
Worst situation I've had like that is I was going to a concert on Valentine's Day in like high school.
Shut up. Oh, no. Do you know this?
I don't think so.
SpongeBob?
Yeah.
I know SpongeBob.
He is the premier artist on this song. It's a banger. Just to put him down.
Banger.
SpongeBob turned into a clown, and no one ever wants to dance with a fool who went and ripped his pants.
Yeah.
Banger.
So good.
It's really good.
So good.
I helped them write that.
No, you did.
Yeah, it came out in like 2001.
Yeah, I ripped through my jeans on the way to I can't even remember the concert, what the concert was, but it was deeply embarrassing.
Oh, that's awesome.
No going back at that point. It was just like, all right, we're doing this.
I remember
what do you
that
do?
song.
There was nothing to do. I was asking people if they had staplers. I was going to staple my pants back shut. And then eventually I just endured.
Did anybody bring it up to you?
No. I tried to smuggle some Hattie B's wings out. And
It's not enough that they gave you free entry and free food.
I was
going to
be hungry later.
You had to steal the food that was there.
I wasn't
for the
stealing.
road.
They were going to throw it away.
For the road.
It fell all out of my pants leg, if anybody was wondering.
Just imagine him sitting in an Uber ride, drunk on the way home with ripped pants, eating chicken.
Yeah, that's pretty
that
pretty
is
accurate.
That is what happened.
Hey, were you there? That's exactly what happened.
Play the poll so I can go home.
Oh, hang on.
God.
Did you do the polls?
No, I didn't do the polls. We don't have polls.
So we
today.
have no polls.
Well, hold on. Which of our poll opens would most likely rip their pants?
Beavis and Butthead.
Borat.
Oh, correct.
No. Well, Borat's Breakaway, isn't it?
Well, yeah, his pants. Oh, but he would have the what's it? The banana hammock.
Yeah.
like the green banana hammock to cover it.
Who made the banana hammock more popular? Borat or Todd from Scrubs?
Borat.
The Todd. Well, the only deets that you can give are...
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, but there are no polls.
Yes, I did not do the polls today. I was at Mike Boronzi's press conference, and I forgot. So, that is going to do it for us today. We do appreciate your participation. As always, if you missed any of the show, you can check out the podcast. You can listen to it live. Go back and revisit some of Mike Boronzi's press conference if you are so inclined. Robert and I are going to make a special appearance on Primetime tonight. So we'll see you at 6 p.m. on A to Z Sports.